bringing you waves of information, bridging the gap in education. This is Radio Broadcast. Listen.
Listen. Listen. To learn.
Great day, grade 10 learners! This is your Science on the Air, the voice of your teacher, your buddy in the distant, and your guide in finishing your modules. I am your radio host, Mr. Jesse Montes from Maydolong National High School. For the segment this morning, we will have a very interesting topic for Grade 10 Science, Module 3, Lesson 2. And you're expected to identify the processes and landforms along divergent plate boundaries. The following are some reminders in using the module. First, use the module with care. Do not put unnecessary marks on any part of the module. Use a separate sheet of paper in answering the exercises. Second, don't forget to answer what I know before moving on to the other activities included in the module. Third, read the instruction carefully before doing each task. Fourth, observe honesty and integrity in doing the task and checking your answers. Fifth, finish the task ahead before proceeding to the next. And lastly, return the module to your teacher once you're finished with it. If you encounter any difficulty in answering the task in this module, do not hesitate to consult your teacher. Always bear in mind that you are not alone. We hope that through this material, you will experience meaningful learning and gain deep understanding of the relevant competencies. You can do it! Handang isip, handang bukas! Your radio teacher is a competent faculty member of Maydolong National High School. Students and parents, let us welcome your radio teacher for Grade 10 Science, Ma'am Catherine Lubina.
Good afternoon, Grade 10 Junior Scientists. I am Teacher Catherine Lubina, your radio teacher in science. Now, we have so many things to explore with our topics in science. In the previous module, you have learned about the types of plate boundaries. What are again the types of plate boundaries? Great! The types of plate boundaries are converging plate, diverging plate, and transform fault boundary. I repeat, the types of plate boundaries are converging plate, diverging plate, and transform fault boundary. In this module, you will recognize that plate boundaries cause different landforms. Do you have any idea what are the landforms along divergent boundary that we are going to discuss? If you are thinking about oceanic ridges and Rift Valley, you are right! Today, I am overwhelmed to be with you as we learn together our lesson in processes and landforms along divergent boundary. I repeat, our lesson is about processes and landforms along divergent boundary. Do you have your module now? Are you ready with your pen and paper? Reminder, science learners, please take utmost care of the modules given to you by your teachers. Study well and read them with full understanding. To activate your prior knowledge of our lesson for today, let us have a pre-test. Please turn your module to page 2. Together, we will read each item carefully. Then you will write the letter of the correct answer on your paper. Are you ready for it? Let's begin. Number 1. When magma in the Earth's mantle develops a great pressure, the ground above it is pushed upward. If this happens in the middle of the ocean, what landform is produced? Letter A, mountain. B, volcanic island. Letter C, volcano. And letter D, continent. I will repeat. Number 1. When magma in the Earth's mantle develops a great pressure, the ground above it is pushed upward. If this happens in the middle of the ocean, what landform is produced? A, mountain. B. Volcanic island. C. Volcano. And letter D. Continent. Number 2. The tall landform created when two continental plates converge. Letter A. Mountain range. B. Volcanic arc. C. Rift Valley. Letter D. Oceanic ridge. I will repeat. Number 2. The tall landform created when two continental plates converge. A. Mountain range. B. Volcanic arc. C. Rift Valley. And letter D. Oceanic ridge. Number 3. It is a plate that dives down under a less dense plate during subduction. Letter A. Subducting plate. B. Continental plate. Letter C. Mantle. And letter D. Overriding plate. I will repeat. Number 3. It is a plate that dives down under a less dense plate during subduction. A. Subducting plate. B. Continental plate. C. Mantle. D. Overriding plate. Number 4. Materials in the mantle flow up and down. Which of the following best describes the mantle? A. A solid layer. B. Partially liquid. Letter C. Metallic layer. And letter D. Very hot layer. I will repeat for number 4. Materials in the mantle flow up and down. Which of the following best describes the mantle? A. A solid layer. B. Partially liquid. C. A metallic layer. And letter D. Very hot layer. Let us come to number 5. Which of the following happens when plates diverge or move away from each other? A. The crust is destroyed. B. New crust is produced because magma rises, then cools off and turns into solid. Letter C. Earth's size changes because mountains are added on the Earth's surface. And letter D. The mantle rises. I will repeat. Number 5. Which of the following happens when plates diverge or move away from each other? Letter A. The crust is destroyed. Letter B. New crust is produced because magma rises, then cools off and turns into solid. Letter C. Earth's size changes because mountains are added on the Earth's surface. And letter D. The mantle rises. Now, let us check your answers. Number 1. What landform is produced? The correct answer is letter B. Volcanic island. Amazing! Number 2. What tall landform created when two continental plates converge? The correct answer is letter A. Mountain range. Awesome! Number 3. What plate dives down under a less dense plate during subduction? The correct answer is letter A. Subducting plate. Marvelous! Number 4. Which of the following best describes the mantle? The correct answer is letter A. Partially liquid. Very good! Number 5. Which of the following happens when plates diverge or move away from each other? The correct answer is letter A. New crust is produced because magma rises, then cools off and turns into solid. Terrific! Did you get the correct answers? Congratulations to those who got them correctly. Don't worry if you get a low score. This just means that there are more things that you can learn as we go on with our discussion on the processes of landforms along divergent boundary. Are you ready? Great! On page 11, you will find the learning activities section. Are you excited to learn more? Yes, good to know that. Have you seen a crack in lands? In the ocean floor? If yes, kindly examine the picture on page 11 of your module. And I have questions for you. Number 1. From the picture, where does divergence of plates usually take place? Inland or under bodies of water? I will repeat. From the picture, where does divergence of plates usually take place? Inland or under bodies of water? Number 2. As plates move apart, a tension zone is formed, which between magma and water rises to tension zone. I will repeat for number 2. As plates move apart, a tension zone is formed, which between magma and water rises to the tension zone. Number 3. If the divergence continues, what would probably happen to the size of the space between the splitting crusts? Will it widen or stay the same? I will repeat the question for number 3. If the divergence continues, what would probably happen to the size of space between the splitting crusts? Will it widen or stay the same? Number 4. As the materials at the tension zone reach the surface and cool down, will the materials from a new crust or another layer of the mantle? I will repeat for number 4. As the materials at the tension zone reach the surface and cool down, will the materials from a new crust or another layer of the mantle? Learners, take note that divergent boundaries most likely happen under the ocean. Along these boundaries, magma rises from deep within the earth and erupts to form new crust on the lithosphere. As plates pull away from each other, a vertical space that may extend deep down into the lowest layer of the crust is created. It is called a rift valley. I will repeat. It is called a rift valley. A rift valley is a lowland region that forms where the Earth's tectonic plates move apart or rift. Rift valleys are found both on land and in the bottom of the ocean. The force of separation creates a tension zone, as a shallow earthquake may happen with this plate movement. If the divergence continues, the gap between them increases. While this happens, materials from the mantle may rise, filling up space. These materials pile up near the tension zone, forming mountain-like structures called oceanic ridges. I will repeat. These materials pile up near the tension zone, forming mountain-like structures called oceanic ridges. The filled-up space between the plates become a new seafloor, and this process is known as seafloor spreading. I will repeat. This process is known as seafloor spreading. Again, the filled-up space between the plates becomes a new seafloor, and this process is known as seafloor spreading. Alright, to improve your knowledge more, turn your module on page 12. Let us do an engaging activity. Have you tried eating a half-cooked egg? As you cut open the white part with your spoon, what comes out of the cooked part? Yes, It is the half-cooked egg yolk. The divergence of plate is somewhat similar to a splitting open egg. As it opens, the half-cooked egg yolk gradually flows out. When it cools down, it becomes solid. If the cooked part of the egg is the crust, what materials could you compare the half-cooked egg yolk? If your answer is magma, you are right. If the half-cooked egg yolk solidifies when it cools off, what becomes magma when it cools down? If the half-cooked egg yolk solidifies when it cools off, what becomes magma when it cools down? Yes! Excellent! A magma that cools down becomes igneous rock. I will repeat, it becomes igneous rock. The half-cooked egg yolk oozes out only when it's still hot. In the same manner, the magma on the mantle also rises because of high temperature in the crust. So how was it? How did you find the discussion? If you think there is a need to go over the lesson again, yes, you can always go back before the modules will be returned to your teacher.
Be the solution. Be a part of the BIDA vaccination. Frequently asked questions on vaccines. How do vaccines prevent disease? Vaccines mimic the virus or bacteria that causes disease and triggers the body's creation of antibodies. These antibodies will provide protection once a person is infected with the actual disease-causing virus or bacteria. What are the possible side effects of vaccination? The possible side effects of a vaccine include pain, weakness, itchiness or swelling at the injection site, fever, weakness, fatigue, headache, and dizziness. Consult a nearest healthcare professional if you experience any of these. Is vaccination mandatory? No, vaccination is not mandatory, but the government highly encourages the public to get vaccinated and be protected against preventable disease. Be the solution. Be part of the BIDA vaccination.
And now, to evaluate how far you learned from our lesson today, let us answer what I have learned on page 12 of your module. Together, we will read each item carefully, then you will write the letter of the correct answer on your paper. Are you ready? Let's begin. Number 1. What divergence of plates results to the creation of down-faulted valleys? Letter A. Rift valleys. B. Oceanic ridges. C. Volcano. I will repeat for number 1. What divergence of plates results to the creation of down-faulted valleys? A. Rift valleys. B. Oceanic ridges. C. Volcano. Number 2. An underwater mountain ranges is called A. Rift valleys. B. Oceanic ridges. C. Volcano. I will repeat for number 2. An underwater mountain ranges is called A. Rift valleys. B. Oceanic ridges. C. Volcano. Number 3. At the tension zone, materials from the mantle may rise to the surface of the ocean floor, cools down, and become new at A. Crust. B. Mantle. C. Magma. Number 3, I will repeat. At the tension zone, materials from the mantle may rise to the surface of the ocean floor, cools down, and become new at A. Crust. B. Mantle. C. Magma. Number 4. A crack on the ground underwater is produced when oceanic crust interacts with another crust. What do we call this? A. Fault. B. Trench. C. Ridge. Number 4. A crack on the ground underwater is produced when oceanic crust interacts with another crust. What do we call this? A. Fault, B. Trench, C. Ridge. Are you ready to know if your answers are correct or not? Let us check your work. Number 1. What divergence of plates results to the creation of down-faulted valleys? The correct answer is letter A, rift valleys. Great! Number 2. An underwater mountain ranges is called? The correct answer is letter A, oceanic ridges. Very good! Number 3. At the tension zone, materials from the mantle may rise to the surface of the ocean floor, cools down and become new at? The correct answer is letter A, crust. Amazing! Number 4. What do we call the crack on the ground underwater? The correct answer is letter C, ridge. Excellent! Did you enjoy our discussion today? Great! How about the activities? That is incredible! Now you know already the different landforms along divergent boundaries. Now, my dear students, I hope you have learned a lot while enjoying the lesson. You still have other activities in this module. To further enhance your knowledge, please continue answering the next task. Should you have any difficulty, please feel free to contact your teacher to help you. Important reminders, dear learners, now that we are experiencing a global health emergency brought by the COVID-19 pandemic, it is just right to take utmost care of our health and rekindle our commitment in taking good care of our studies. Thank you so much. Until next radio lesson. Goodbye.
How's your score, learners? Your science teacher will wait for your output. Always remember that you're doing great in everything that you do. Always bear in mind that there are better things than getting high scores. What is important is that you learn from your mistakes and you become a better learner. Happy learning, students!
Bringing you waves of information, bridging the gap in education. This is Radio Broadcast. Listen.
Listen. Listen. To learn.